The Welsh Government have said numerous times over the years that they're working on improving transport infrastructure across Wales. What are they doing to deliver that promise? The total budget allocated to Wales for 2025 was £26 billion. And how much do you think they allocate towards transport for the entirety of Wales? If you guessed under 2%, congratulations, you're unfortunately bang on. Thousands of people across Wales rely on public transport, whether it be for work or social life. And they're stuck in places like these. And the state of public transport isn't much better than what you see around me right now. Of the 26 billion allocated across Wales, 500 million of that is going towards transport, including electric car parking spaces, bike lanes, and road maintenance. So that 2% isn't necessarily even going towards things like buses or trains. Instead of interviewing somebody who works for the transport system and asking them questions that they won't be able to answer and won't give any satisfying answers to even if they could, I'm interviewing someone who relies on public transport almost every day. This is Mikey. So Mikey, where do you live?
I live here in Haverfordwest.
Yeah. And what do you do for a living?
I'm a chef out in Johnston, which is about a bus ride away.
And is that how you get to work? By the bus?
I get to work by the bus most days, yeah.
So, do you take public transport for any reasons outside of work?
I use it to see family and friends on occasion.
So you're kind of stuck with public transport then?
Yeah, I don't drive or anything like that, so it's my only option to get to and from.
It's a lot of people's only option. And any thoughts about the cost?
It's changing most days, and it's very expensive at the moment for someone who uses it most days to get to work.
So how much would you say that you spend on public transport per week?
I'd say just on the buses alone, I'd spend around about £25 a week, but that's if I got a return most days.
Interesting. So what do you think could be done to improve the experience?
I think more frequent buses, so the buses aren't so crowded, and changing the prices, making it easier for someone who constantly uses the bus.
It's all good to talk about numbers and budgets, to complain about travel times and availability, but it really doesn't convey the point as well as it could. I think to really show you just what we're talking about, we should show you a real journey. So, let's have a race. While I jump on my train, Mikey makes his way for the bus stop, and Molly to her car. There's 20 miles between Haverfordwest and our destination in Tenby. You'd think that it's a relatively short trip, which it is, provided you have personal transport. However, if you're part of the unfortunate 20% of the Welsh population that reported having no access to personal transport in a 2023 survey, then you'll be stuck with public transport, and that short journey might start to get a bit longer. So I've just gotten on the train, leaving Haverfordwest, going towards Tenby. And this train is around, I'd estimate around a 3-4 hour journey. And it's not that far between here in Haverfordwest, so it might sound a bit strange for it to be so long, but we'll soon come to understand why it takes just that long to get to Tenby from Haverfordwest, which is only, I'll remind you, a 20-30 mile journey at most. Earlier I mentioned a survey from 2023. It stated that just under 20% of the Welsh population reported having no access to a personal vehicle. And that seems fine, maybe even accurate, but it's deceptive once you learn how we arrived at that statistic. See, it wasn't just an individual survey, asking people if they had personal access to a personal vehicle. Rather, it was a household survey. Each participating household was asked if anyone in the home had access to a personal vehicle, and as a result, the statistic is drastically diminished. So, say you lived in a flat with a flatmate, and they happened to have a car that you had no use of. You'd still be counted as having access to a personal vehicle, despite the fact that you clearly didn't. In reality, most people's households will likely have a personal vehicle, but the statistics the government is working with to really understand the importance of public transport are woefully inaccurate. Unfortunately, this means that there are tens of thousands of people across Wales being forgotten about, relegated to public transit, left to suffer the consequences. all while the Welsh Government continues their promises of improvements to come.
So the first leg of the journey has begun.
So now that I'm actually in Whitland, about 20 minutes until my train gets here. I am freezing my tits off. As I finally pull into the station, I'm surprised to find I'm only the second one here. Having expected to come dead last, I'm left wondering. Where's Mikey? Mikey is nowhere to be found.
So I got taken off the bus. I was well behaved, but turns out after 5 o'clock, the bus doesn't go all the way to Tenby. I'm surprised. I thought there were more buses later, but apparently not. It just goes one way, and then it stops. Doesn't even turn around to go back. It just turns off the service sign and carries on. But yeah, so I hope you have a field day with us.
The future for Welsh transport is uncertain. Welsh officials continue to say that they're working on improving it and increasing the allocated budget every year. Though it's unlikely that we'll see any improvement, particularly in rural areas like these. For now, all we're left with is the promise of improvement. Alright, let's cut this guy.